So this one is special, in the sense that this might be the most broken, defective game that I've ever played. Let's start with the game's launch, which was messier than Jared Aycock's pyjamas on November 1st. For you see, this game had no executable folder. This meant that anyone who bought this thing, downloaded it, and installed it would find an empty folder where the game should be. This is especially embarrassing because Valve had just launched Steam Direct around 6 months before this happened, and this basically showed them up and their promises of checking every game to see if it worked before it was launched. All these promises were little more than sweet, sweet lies to help us sleep better at night.
So, fortunately, the developer, Riyad Arifin, hope I'm saying that right, but anyway, he was able to fix his little fuck up and was able to upload a file for customers to play. Unfortunately,
you are under attack whilst accompanied by 2 of your bodyguards. Your job is to shoot all of the attackers before they kill you. You will get 3 lives.
Seems simple enough.
So after carefully avoiding a shit game.exe has stopped working, with 2 precarious minutes of flashing windows, frantically whirring washing machine mouse cursors, as well as the threat of the game constantly shutting down, I finally forced the game to crash. I boot it up again, not reading any text, and just hammering the play button hoping that I can get to the actual game before the menu crashes. This is some top quality shit right here.
So, I'm having to play this at half speed on the editor, because if I didn't, this thing will be over and done with before you could even have a chance to blink. Yes, it's that dire.
Also, you might miss crucial details like CBS 24. Whatever that is. And those untextured highway mesh fences on the horizon, which is apparently the default Unity horizon according to people who know about that shit. Not to mention other staples of bad games, like tiny houses that the player characters and NPCs couldn't fit into. So, I click frantically trying to figure out the controls, as you hear these frankly excellent gun sound effects of pew! I mean, really, it sounds like one of those every sound effects replaced with my voice mods that you get in a competent game like Half-Life. So many wonderful details to dissect, just from the visual aspect of this game alone. I mean, look at the mangled hands trying to grasp that gun. Look at the fucking mouse cursor just left on the screen as part of the game. In a first-person shooter. Look at the quit button just left floating in the middle. Just begging you to accidentally shut the game down and lose all of your progress mid-mission. The game controls are very difficult for me to describe. I mean, I can't play the game long enough to fully understand what I'm experiencing, but I feel like I'm dragging a huge weight around, trying to fight immense gravity, and shoot at these enemies with some of the worst shooting controls in history. The guns don't go off, and there's no physical bullet in the game either. There's no movement. It's like a rail shooter. You can only really move your weapon and your hands, not your actual feet, like in a real FPS. The enemies just stand there like a bunch of gormless idiots, unless they have some preset path in which they just walk a little to the left or right, and they just stand there mindlessly shooting. Hell, the allied side do this just as much and end up getting killed for their trouble. The whole thing just feels like a Civil War reenactment.
So you get around 3 seconds to kill all of the guards. I've seen people like Jim Sterling fail to actually do that because, let's face it, you need to be Aussie fucking Mandius to be able to kill that many guards that quickly. I later found out though there's a sort of pattern to it, so eventually, after multiple attempts over the course of 10 minutes, I was able to get the lightning fast reflexes needed to actually do this properly.
If you shoot this guy to your immediate left, and then shoot this guy to your immediate right, and then shoot the guy who's just behind him, and shoot his two buddies to his left, in those few seconds that you have to react to this mess of a game, you'll actually be able to see the end cutscene. Another thing of note is that you have to sort of lift the gun to shoot the later enemies by painfully dragging the weapon up. Controlling the character's arms is like lifting the arms of someone who has just woken up after lying on top of their arms all night to the point that they're completely dead and helping them shoot straight. It felt like some sort of dog simulator for the first 5 minutes because, well, I couldn't look up.
Okay. But dogs can look up.
And figuring out the painful camera controls just made me really want to cry. If I was to describe this as an experience overall, like as a gaming experience, it's like being a baby turtle hatching on the beach. Like, have you ever seen one of those wildlife documentaries where a baby turtle hatches and then crawls towards the sea, and they get like 15 seconds of life before a bird or something snatches them, and only the ones that freakishly knew that you had to flail around until you got to the ocean actually survive? Well, that's basically how this game feels. You can finally sympathise for what those creatures feel for their 15 seconds of life. You get dumped into the world, you don't know where you are, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know whose arse this is, and the next thing you know, you're dead.
So it's basically luck if you hit anything. Like, at all, because there's absolutely no response from the gun, you can't see any bullet, you can't see what you're hitting, and you can't see where you hit it. And the only thing you can do is frantically click around, hoping that these leather-jacketed clones fall down before you do.
So, by working out the pattern and selling my soul to Satan, I managed to actually complete the game. And this is the ending cutscene.
She is Alex Summer, de facto leader of the New York crime syndicate.
She was only 13 when she was trafficked into this country.
It is said that when a guy tried to abuse her, she killed him with a wine bottle. Seeing this, Aiden Quinn, the leader of the syndicate, realized she can be much more than a whore. So he took her under his wings and trained her to be an assassin. Years later, all of Aiden's enemies started showing up dead one by one. All the evidence pointed to a girl. No one couldn't figure out who she was or how she looked because each time she used a different disguise to reach to her target and finish them off. For this reason, she is also known as Shadow. 2 years ago, when Aiden fled to Dominican Republic to escape arrest, he put her in charge of the syndicate to run the day-to-day operations. During her reign, she distanced herself from human trafficking for obvious reasons, which proved to be very unprofitable for human traffickers of the syndicate, especially Victor Sergey, the dominant human trafficker of this syndicate. Yesterday, his men tried to kill her, but they failed. For this reason, we believe that she's going to come after each and every one of them who is responsible for this incident.
I mean, I can't say I'm disappointed. This is the best way that this nightmare of a game could have ended. What's with these horrible faces? They look like someone pulled all of the sliders on Create a Character. I'm pretty sure that the vast majority of these faces were made with fuse. That's why they don't show you anything below the neck, because it'll show the T-posing of the model.
You know, you gotta love that establishing shot with the text at the bottom. FBI meeting just dumped on the left-hand side. Fucking hell.
I could analyse everything in this scene, frame by frame, and find something wrong with every last flicker of the images that's just strewn across the timeline on my editing software. But let's just ask a few basic questions like, what's this jackass doing to the computer? What are half of these slides supposed to be? Why is the camera on the other side of the room to the characters? Why not put it on the table where that penguin statue is? I do kind of find it brave that a game with assets this ghoulish would make a game about human trafficking and shit.
I almost understand this plot. Almost.
what feels like halfway through that cutscene just is basically the unceremonious ending, and it dumps you back to the main menu. So that was like the opening, the prologue. I mean, it is called episode 1, so it's meant to be the introduction to this mess, but it feels like this thing should have been the opening before the gameplay segment, because it tells you what the shit's going on. It would have been nice if they at least told you who the hell you just played as before that even happened. Who are you? Are you Shadow the Trojan whore? Or are you one of those FBI agents? How do these things connect? Well, maybe the Steam store page can shed some light on all this. Shadow is a role-playing game. The story revolves around a female underworld mafia boss, Shadow. Someone conspires against her to eliminate her power. This is an episodic game. In this episode, you will be the main character, Shadow, Alex Summer, who runs an international crime empire. You will be attacked by a few goons, and you will have to kill them all before they kill you. This is also a first-person shooter game. You can use the mouse pointer to aim and click the mouse button to shoot. The most interesting feature of this game is that if you shoot the goons and they don't die, you have to shoot at the places surrounding the attackers to kill them. Wait, what the fuck? So you have to shoot around them to kill them? Oh wait, no, you only have to do that if they don't die because you shot them. What fucking sense does that make? I do appreciate, like, knowing who I am now. But why? Why any of it?
So I initially guessed that the developer made one episode of this nightmare and then just pulled it from the Steam store because nobody liked the original. Turns out, though, there was a second episode, but it existed so briefly before it was pulled from the store that I never got my hands on it. So, thankfully, somebody did and recorded the damn thing. It was actually free DLC for the original game, but if you didn't get it knowing that it existed, then you're not going to get it at all.
The only proof of its existence is from Stefan8000, who owns the game in his library on Steam and even wrote a review of it. You can't download the free piece of DLC even if you own the original game, and I'm not sure if I ever owned it myself. From the looks of it, episode 2 was more of a game. There's movement in it, and there was some sort of boss character who said beans when you killed him. Or something to that effect. So then Alex Summer, the Shadow, takes a call, finding herself angry because someone got caught. Her voice actor is seemingly a young man or boy with some sort of pitch shift.
First the attack, and now James making a deal with the feds. I'm having a feeling that these events are connected.
It sounds less like a woman than Simon doing an impression of a man doing an impression of a woman. Then this nude guy stands up and moves around like some weird gyrating mess. He's apparently her husband, who married her on the condition that she left her life of crime behind her, but she didn't seem to. Anyway, that was the last we ever saw of Shadow. Trechery cannot be tolerated. Good. Seriously, fuck this game. They charge money for this, and it's a failure in every way.
I'd be a bit more mad, but it actually made me laugh playing this game because of its ineptitude, unlike Unknown City that just pissed me off. I guess you could say Unknown City's technically more competent, but this game actually has voice acting and a plot, which Unknown City didn't seem to have, so I feel like quality-wise, I'm still going to say Unknown City's better, but I prefer this game. I literally just compared two turds. That's actually my hobby in my actual life. Fuck, I hate it.